to the show. I'm Led Kai up to God, government name, and government cheese, Marquand Moorhead.
Colleen Kopp.
Colleen Kopp. So today's subject matter is going to be about something that people are starting to experience. It's called the Mandela Effect. So everybody on the internet that's starting to understand that there's something weird going on. Colleen, what's your take on the Mandela Effect from Berenstein Bears and Berenstein Bears?
Well, we've talked at length about this, and it's a fun subject for debate. I know what Shiva has talked about, and I'm sure we'll be hearing that later. From a personal perspective, there have been times where things have gone missing and things have appeared, and it's been frustrating to me. One incident in particular, I remember I was preparing for some event, I don't remember what it was, had picked out an outfit, had it hanging up in my closet. The day came that I was supposed to do this event, and I couldn't find my outfit. And I looked hanger by 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 hanger, and it wasn't there. And I checked the laundry thinking I must have gone crazy and not put it in my closet. Couldn't find it, ended up having to wear something else. 2 weeks later, it's where it was supposed to be. Now, I do hypnosis. There is a thing called a inverse hallucination or a negative hallucination. And that's when we don't see something that is there versus a regular hallucination where you see something that's not there. And scientifically, that's the only thing I can think of that would explain this phenomenon.
Scientifically.
So that's, but I think there are too many odd things that happen. I'm not sure that science applies.
Right? It takes science to know science. It takes crazy to know crazy. But my earliest times of dealing with this phenomenon, I never experienced none of this until I started my food truck back in 2012. And the next following year later, something weird happened. So we'll get into that in just a second. But go ahead.
Do you think that you didn't actually experience it, or that you just wrote it off? I never really paid attention to detail in my life. See, that's what I think.
My thing is, when I was growing up as a teenager, I guess, because I will get into this later, it's all about how much data is in the field. It's like what you procure, what you keep adding on, right? But back then, in like the 80s and 90s, there wasn't that much data, so everything just kind of just stayed in place. I never experienced any universal change. And it took all the way up until me becoming a grown man to realize that there's something weird going on. And again, it took my food truck to teach me this. And in that story in itself, to explain what people are calling experiencing the Mandela Effect, but from what Lord Shiva has explained to me, it's not a Mandela Effect, it's called transpositioning. So that's the biggest subject matter of tonight. We're going to discuss what Shiva means by transpositioning. He might come in here and just possess my body here after he gets here, like sick of me talking about this, because he knows it better than I do. And he explained it to me in detail, to where I've seen horror movies and science fiction films throughout my life, and I've never heard anything like what Shiva has explained what's happening to us. So all moving forward, my, like, your clothes incident with your coat hangers, did you experience anything else? Because when I was researching what happened to me on my food truck was with a paring knife, with a three set of chef knives that I bought for my food truck. And it started from there. So that's my first story, and that was in 2013 when this happened. Any other times that happened with you? I mean, because we really didn't see that in the 80s, growing up in the 90s, did you? Or what time period was that when you experienced with your clothes?
I would have been in my probably mid-20s, so I'm going to date myself here. Mid-90s?
Mid-90s, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, me, nothing. Everything's always been in place. Ain't shit changed. Nothing happened. All right, so well, my situation on the food truck back in 2013 was I had these three sets of this set of knives. It's just a chef knife, a butcher knife, and a paring knife. So I used to use this paring knife all the time. And about 6 months into having all my knives on a knife rack, on a magnetic rack on my food truck, the paring knife disappeared. So I scoured all through the house because I'd take my dishes home and wash them, put them all back in the same bus tub that I was taking in back and forth from dirty dishes to clean dishes. And knife disappeared. Oh, maybe like 4 months, 5 months later, it reappears on the countertop. So I'm like, oh, my knife is back. But I know I clean my countertop. I do massive details on Sunday, do a thorough overhaul of cleaning the truck, and make sure it's back for service on Monday. So it appeared on the countertop. I'm like, oh, wow, what's up with this? So I started researching on YouTube back in 2014, because, time progressed. And people were having the same similar experience. It's called a DOP, which is called disappearing object phenomenon. And people would realize something important if it was gone or it was moved out of place, and they would actually, the way to handle this situation is to be able to talk to the field, like you yell at your room or wherever it disappeared, please return it, I want it back, please give it back. And then they'll basically, what they tried to theorize is that the entities will put it back in another obscure location and you'll get your shit back. So I'm like, okay, whatever. That's interesting. So I had my paring knife back. About a month later, it disappears again. So I'm like, what's going on? So in late 2014, I had my son working on my food truck. And this is one of the trucks that I had. I cleaned up everything. I always reset the kitchen. It's oh my goodness. It's a white glove kitchen. That's how much because it's an expedition window, so everybody could see at countertop level if there's any dirt anywhere around, any grime. So I always was meticulous about keeping a very strict clean kitchen and all the knives in the knife rack. But me and my son are working this job one day downtown here in Columbus, and of course all the sinks are cleared before I bring my dishes in. Nothing there. We do our shift. I fill up the dishwater tank, my three sink compartment. So the first basin's filled up with, soapy water. We do our shift. I start washing all the dishes in the first sink compartment. And then I cut myself at the bottom of the sink, taking out the last dishes. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, it's my paring knife. After it being cleaned, the truck, always rigorously. Why would it appear like 8 months later? Almost a year later. So that's when I started experiencing something was like not right about reality. Like, why is my paring knife disappearing? So I didn't kind of pay it no mind, and I kept using my paring knife, and then it disappears again weeks later. Never to return ever again. So call it the paring knife gnome. Whatever's attached to whatever, but it's actually a little bit kind of more what I want to say, pseudoscience sinister, but I wouldn't call it that. It's just the way Lord Shiva explained that's what's happening to all of us. So, Mandela effects. You already know what it is. Knowing that there has been some significant or minute change to your universe branded to your memories that you know that was in place from the day before or weeks before, and you know that shit's supposed to be in place. Where'd it go? So, any other instances? I got another. I got more Mandela Effect stories to add to this one.
I mean, I remember the first time you came here to this house, and your skull your skull mala disappeared, and we looked everywhere.
Yeah.
Couldn't find it.
That was the one from Tibet, right? With the yak teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it showed up. What, a month later?
Yeah.
And we looked everywhere. We looked behind things, underneath things.
Yeah.
And it was not here.
So, you know, I guess the whole point of this episode is just to, you know, for the community, you know, to leave comments down below, connect, communicate. What's
Weird
your
stuff
experiences?
happens.
Weird shit happens. Life is surreal. My second transpositioning or Mandela Effect instance profound me. This is during the times of my awakening back in 2015, early on. I wrote about it in my book, but I used to dowse with pendulums. Don't do them anymore because we break them because they spin so hard and so fast. So, I'm not going to get on that sort of story, but I had a crystal ball, very heavy weighted dowsing pendulum, and I loved it. So, this is back in this is like 2015, maybe, I don't know, June. No, this is actually later. This is going into 2016 is when this happened. So this is when I started using pendulums, dowsing and asking questions. So I used to use this dowsing pendulum, and I loved it. And I used it every day. Used it over fruit. I used it over objects that wasn't good for me. If it went counterclockwise, it was Shiva letting me know it's not good for you. So anyways, I was getting ready to go to work, and I had my pendulum on my string, and I had it laying next to me, right at my pillow. And I took a nap for about an hour and 45 minutes. So I woke up, and the pendulum's gone, totally vanished. And I had my cat. She was sleeping with me the whole time. She was still there. Pendulum gone. So I had 45 minutes to get ready to go to work. I'm looking all over the bedroom. I tore the bed apart, looked up under the bed, like, where did it go? So right before I'm getting ready to go head out the door, I was downstairs in the kitchen. I lifted up a dishcloth that I was cleaning up the countertop with from the night before, and the dowsing pendulum was right up under it. So I know full well I didn't put that up under there before I went to bed, when I knew I went to bed with it.
And you don't sleepwalk.
No.
I'm just saying.
I already have a hard time enough sleeping. And that's, again, this is why I have cameras everywhere, to catch me in the act of anything happening. But I've caught spirits on my cameras doing things while I was sleeping. So I would actually love to sleepwalk, but I was drinking a bunch of beer. I blacked out, drunk, passed out to take a nap before I had to go deliver pizza that night. So I know I wasn't like drunk sleepwalking, except for going to the bathroom. So yeah. Other cases?
Did you want to talk about last week?
No,
Okay.
we're not done yet.
Okay.
There's more instances of the Mandela effect that I've experienced. I moved in this house. I ordered an Amazon HDMI out splitter. It was there for a week and then it disappeared. And I searched everywhere for it, and there's no place to be found. But
Your drone, your shirts,
so we went out of town. We went to a lake. I was using my Mini Pro 3 DJI drone. She was with me the whole time I was using it. So I had my Fly More kit. I had the bag with it. I put my drone in the bag after we used it because it's $700 freaking dollars. Right? So why would I leave something that's $700? I wasn't high. I wasn't drunk. I was just, we were getting, what was it, day before we was leaving?
No, it was the day.
The day we were leaving, I
Yeah.
wanted to get those shots.
We were packing up. You flew it back and landed it on the picnic table, and then went out and got it.
Yeah. Put it back in the bag, make sure everything was with its batteries and extra peripherals and its controller. And we came all the way back to Columbus. I put the bag up, didn't look in the bag, not at all. And about weeks later, I looked in the bag because I was going to power up my drone and use it. And the drone's not there, but everything else is. So, my thing is that I guess, not talking about Shiva's teachings or anything like that, but I know it's like something that we are mostly gravitated to, that we know that's going to kind of help us or move us forward, that always gets taken from us. Or something that's world building. That's what I've noticed. Apparently even scientists today, physicists, mathematicians, they all know that we are jumping universes. It is very serious, it's very evident. A lot of people, my thing is, I guess once you start waking up to the knowing that it's happening, the more you see it. You know what I mean? It ain't like, poor folk or rich folks or middle class that's always caught in the inertia of the living life stream of surviving or capitalization or just getting by or sustaining. I guess it's like once it happens to you, you get involved with something quantifiable that's trying to communicate, I think. What do you think?
Well, I'm still not sure what to think about it, and I know Shiva and I kind of got into a little heated debate the other night, but I still feel like, okay, being aware is good, I guess, but if there's nothing we can do about it, I'm not sure what the point is.
Well, it's like what he explained to you when I was channeling him. It's not that we can't do anything about it, but we can talk about it, make discussion about it, build a community about it. You know what I'm saying? The science community is well endowed into like this understanding, because it's kind of disturbing, that people are starting to realize, like, well, what's happening to my memories? Are they being written or overwritten? But my whole thing, and especially what Shiva has taught me, is like, always check your memories. Keep them in place no matter what. Go ahead.
Well, okay. So we've had a debate numerous times about playing Resident Evil, where I've told you and I've described the scene in the alley to a T, and you don't remember playing it with me.
Which Resident Evil was that?
3, I think.
Because me and you never played Resident Evil 3 together until I showed you the demo of it, of the beginning, and you were like, we played this before. But me and Kali and Parvati and Shiva beat Resident Evil 3 before we met you.
And I clearly remember playing it with you.
Then you should be able to explain the ending.
Because this was when we were kind of sampling this game and that game and that game from what I remember.
I can vouch for that.
And we didn't play it all the way through. We played that scene, and from that scene where they're in the alley fighting off all the crazy monster things, then it goes, what, does it go to the diner or goes to the school? I don't know. I don't remember at this point, but I remember that scene, playing it with you.
Possibly.
And
possibly with your son in another universe before you met me.
Maybe with you in another universe.
Maybe. That's what we've always had, some of these conflictions, because I played games with you that I know that you haven't played with me, that you swore up and down you did.
Right.
So that's
except Shiva says we've never done this before. So I don't know. I think, when it comes down to it, I feel like I have to concede that your memory is the right one, but then why do I have such a clear memory of it?
It's like the beginning of BioShock Infinite. Why do I have memories of something that never existed, or how the quote was? We need to probably look it up, but it's about how memories aren't supposed to be there, but why do we have them?
When there's that couple in the
couple in the boat,
yeah,
right before that scene starts. So that's I think when I played that game, I started thinking differently, and I started trying to understand, because BioShock Infinite is about infinite universes, them doing the same thing in other universes. So I guess I was so compelled by it that even, like, I guess these entities, Shiva or whatever, whoever might be connected to, wants us to know about this shit, about quantum mechanics and entanglement with other multi-dimensional universes that are just as linked to ours, but with different instances. Shiva calls it transpositioning. So what he's explained is that our consciousnesses are being mitigated from one body to the next. And that universe has a significant or minute change. And he always says, in that universe, you must fix the fixables or replace the replaceables. So that I thought, because I used to get frustrated, because it was happening so frequently to me. Even on my computer, I know everything on my desktop. There was one time, back in 2018, I went to bed, because I don't talk about pirating. I don't promote it. I kind of don't condone it. But hey, we all get by. So one night, there was a couple of torrents that was downloading when I woke up the next morning that I did not download at all. Because why in the hell would I want to download Tekken 7 and Street Fighter 5 when they first came out on torrents when I wasn't even remotely downloading anything the night before?
Well, and you've had numerous files just disappear, too.
I've had numerous files disappear. I've had to fix executable files. I understand updates and patches have to exist, but, Shiva had explanation about how every universe has to keep up, and everything has to keep being updated and patched in order for it to feel like it's a legitimate reality. So, that's another thing in itself about dealing with transpositioning, or the Mandela Effect.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of the show Sliders.
Yeah. Like Shiva, like Lord Shiva's obsessed with Quantum Leap and Sliders. Like, they love that. Like Doctor Who, he always talks about Doctor Who. He was like, you have to watch these narratives. There's information in it that actually decodes what we're dealing with. There's some episodes that you just, look at it as face value and entertainment, and then there's some points and fragments of things that affect our consciousness that stick with us. Like when I first met you and you had to show me the Fisher King, because there's a scene with the woman and, the dude that was hustling, and, maybe I'm the devil and you're God, and we just have to make love to work our differences out. You know what I'm saying? So I
love that movie.
So it's just like, there's things that stay in our memories that make us move forward, and it started with BioShock Infinite. And then I started wanting to learn about quantum mechanics and science, and then starting to realize what Albert Einstein was theorizing and professing. Started researching Carl Sagan, Carl Jung. Started getting into what's that other one? Scientist, I forgot. That's what's Carl Sagan, and there's not Bill Nye. Anyways, started getting into astrophysics, like Neil deGrasse Tyson. I started learning more. But in these aspects of wanting to learn more is just Shiva's consciousness overlaying, like, you have to learn more about what's happening to you and in reality. Because I've woken up with scars on my body and things that should not exist. But I'm going to get into one major one. Somehow I stopped recording.
Yeah,
I just now noticed that.
It was like a minute ago.
Yeah, it's going to come back on. We'll get it all. Another clap. 1, 2, 3. Clap. So I'll sync that later. So, definitely this is happening to everybody worldwide, but we just have to want to pay attention to know that it's happening. And a lot of people just don't really care. I mean, we all struggling. We all got kids, and we got family members, and businesses. The more we stay busy, the more we won't see it. That's kind of when I was sitting on my ass and just doing a lot of research when I had the time to do it, because it was happening to me. And then I got to talk about the frequent one that just happened about a week ago?
It was last week.
Yeah, last week.
Yeah.
So that's another one for itself.
Would have been last Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah, it was last Wednesday because I wanted to document the date that it happened. It was like the 20th.
I don't remember the date.
Oh, me neither.
You're probably right.
So,
No. Might have been the 21st. I don't know. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Something that Shiva has said numerous times is keep your memories in check, right?
Yeah.
I guess from my perspective, I don't understand how we maintain continuity and how do we know we're the right person in the universe?
That's what I'm saying. Keep the memories in check. The thing and...
But if I have a memory of something, I'm sorry.
No, you good.
If I have a memory of something that didn't happen to whatever version of me is currently here, I would not remember it as the current me because it didn't happen to me, it happened to another version of me.
Exactly.
Right?
So in transpositioning, our consciousness is mitigated to the next universal body, which has some change, significant or minute. And then you have to adapt to that universe. Because that's what I've been doing.
Right. Well, so I think it's something that we tend to do automatically without questioning.
Exactly. And that's scary.
Where I think we, at least myself, I think I just assume, well, I must have it wrong.
Hey, and there's nothing wrong with second guessing yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. That's straight up. There's nothing wrong with that. Because in order for me to stop going crazy, everything here has a logical explanation no matter what. And this is one of Shiva's teachings. Everything here has a logical explanation. And it depends on whose logic you're looking at. Right. So that type of perspective, logically speaking, you got to break down everything, even your own memories. Because I've misplaced shit and try to blame it on transpositioning, but I had to really remember where the fuck I put shit at. You know what I'm saying? And then I end up finding it. You know what I mean? But then there's those instances, with what I'm about to get ready to talk about, that's really questioning what is truly happening to us besides us jumping into other universal bodies of other universes, and our consciousness has to keep the same relay of past memories. Then you meet with people that act like they never, like I've had conversations like, we never had this conversation. Like, bro, yes we did. We talked about this. It's like, no. And everybody would be sober and they can't remember. So it's like this fight of memory hoarding and then being able to sift through all that data to make sure that yours is the most accurate versus dealing with somebody else's that you know that there's some inaccuracies with what they're dealing with because it doesn't correspond with your memories. And I mean that's
I don't know. Again, from a more scientific, pragmatic point of view, let's just use my brother as an example, right? We grew up in the same house. We experienced the same things, but his perspective of those things is often very different than my perspective.
And that's the truth. Everybody does have a different perspective about things.
So I think, if you had, let's say, 100 people go to a presentation on something, everybody's going to walk away with something slightly different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if you are talking to someone saying, hey, we had this conversation, and they're not recalling the conversation, it could just be that they don't, it wasn't as significant to them as it was to you in that moment.
Yeah, that happens. Memory displacement.
So again, I'm not trying, I believe stuff happens that we can't explain.
The whole thing about, with conversations and memory gathering of others, call it member berries if you want, but object placements and displacements. That's the big kicker. Word placement and displacement. I mean, when you build it, they will come. Not when you build it, he will come. That's not. My grandmother, when she showed me Snow White, she was stoked because she was like, I gotta watch Snow White, and I didn't want to watch it. It was like a bunch of animals and some white girl in the woods. I'm an adolescent. So she forced me to watch it when it was on TV. And then when the line came up and she was repeating it as she knew it, saying, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? It was never magic mirror on the wall. Just mirror, mirror. So
I saw it in the theater the first week it came out.
See?
My aunt and uncle took me to that movie.
And what's the quote?
Mirror, mirror on the wall,
who's the fairest of them all? That's straight up. That's no joke. And it's happening. But it's nothing to be afraid about. Again, I think the meaning of all of this episode is about adaptation. You're going to jump a universe, and something's going to be different. Something's going to be misplaced. Something's going to be missing. Something's not going to be in its place where it needs to be, because we're talking about object placement. The one YouTube video I saw that really disturbed me was about this woman that was married to her husband, and she was crying, like she was professing, like it disturbed her so bad about the last situation I got to talk about before we sign out. She had this knowing experience with her husband at a park that they were at years ago. And the one thing that I can say about women, they don't forget shit. Y'all don't forget shit when it deals with us, being with us. Y'all just don't forget nothing. So she woke up this one morning and she was explaining them about this anniversary that they had to do, that they normally did. He was like, what are you talking about? I've never heard about this anniversary. And she thought that he was a freaking clone. Right? So even our memories get switched, or we'll jump into that from Shiva's perspective, when our consciousness transposition to one locality to the next, their memories, just like with Bioshock Infinite, are trying to override our legitimate memories that we remember from growing up. And we have to fight against that. So we're like overriding the file with our own consciousness, but the subconstruct memory, like some shit off of, I don't know, Cyberpunk 2077, Johnny Silverhand, still exists. You can't write that away. And you just got to communicate with it or take it over, which is that universe that you have to jump into. So that's why in the black community, when it comes to dealing with like gangsterism, like, you know, understanding the urban dialect of dealing with who's real and who's fake, a lot of real people don't like to deal with fake people. I could put the N word on it, but, you know, because the show's not kids, I don't want to disrespect Shiva and all the Hindu community by blouting out extremities of what black Americans have went through for the past 400 years that we've adopted. But real recognize real, and we can't stand a fake at all, and we'll call you out. But I was fake growing up. It happened to me, and I had real niggas tell me about myself multiple times until I started becoming realer myself. So, you know, every universe, even back in the 90s when I was thugging and boosting and, you know, hustling and dealing, it was like I still wasn't being real. I wasn't. I was assimilating what reality was trying to get me to do, and I was doing it, but everybody else's universes inevitably led into the same conclusion, like they ended up dead or in jail. So I kept rewriting my memories, sticking with video games and martial arts and getting into the culinary industry and wanting to learn it better to change a different outcome to where I'm in this universe today with Colleen. So I think it's more about future memory creation, doing the same thing, what we call as fate. We always didn't. So this is what kind of trips me out, is that people that really don't know about transpositioning or the Mandela Effect, that they don't even care, kind of fall into the lines of fate. They go right back into the same loop. So that's why I think quantum mechanics and science is very important to understand. Like, yo, it's happening. You know, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about why the Mandela Effect is happening. I'm not going to point out or point any names or any organizations, but from what Lord Shiva has been saying, this has been happening for a long time. And people were never aware of it, even before the creation of the Hadron Collider. This shit's been still happening. So, Colleen, you got anything to finish up?
You were going to tell about last week.
Oh, last week, yeah. Let's get this out. All right, so last week, I think it's going to be our longest episode here. Let me go ahead and take my headphones off so I can show the camera. All right, so my camera right here. This is my pendant, my flower of life pendant. It has a hole in it. You know, I'm trying to show it the best way I can. And it was on the same string. So the problem was that this was on the string and it was constantly gliding all over the place, right? So, whatever. Never went anywhere. Wore it for months, or about a month and a half since I've had it. Last week, woke up, went to the bathroom, had to urinate, come back to the bedroom. The pendant by itself is on the bed where I was sleeping at, like in the torso area. So I'm checking my neck, and the string is still attached to me, like it's still on my neck. But there was no way that this pendant should have got out of its loop at all, but it was by itself. So I'm naked, tripping balls, going to my girl's office and explain to her, this pendant was in the loop of the string, and somehow it's separated, and it's by itself on the bed. I'm holding my hand, string and all, as you can see the string right here that it was attached to, and totally separated. Impossible. So I guess it was just a reminder of why we're doing this episode, of what Shiva was explaining to us. Like, we had to talk about this subject matter called the Mandela Effect, or what Shiva would call transpositioning. Anyways, we're out of time here. Have fun with the video. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Colleen, got anything to say before we sign out?
I don't think so.
All right. Welcome to the wonderful world of transpositioning called the Mandela Effect. Episode 2. Peace out, guys.